Hello Internet, my name is James Scaresbrook, also known as the Intrepid Wino, and it is time for Let's Taste. First one I've recorded in a little while. In fact, I did record one before I went overseas with Vanessa Altman from Switch Wine. It was great to actually be able to taste her new release wines with her, to ask her some questions. If you haven't watched that video, I definitely suggest going to watch that and then go out and find some Switch Wine where you can, because they're very exciting. I talked with her on the Vincast podcast a little bit about her background and why she's trying to make the wines that she does, the organically grown grapes. But it was great to be over in Italy. It's also great to be back and hitting up the Let's Taste videos. Whilst I was away, I got sent some samples. Thank you very much to all of those people who did send me samples. It's very flattering that people are interested in seeing my impressions of their wines. So I'm going to start with some sparkling wines. It's awesome to get back here to Melbourne, and for us to have this beautiful warm weather. It only makes me look forward to summer, and particularly as we're heading towards that sort of festive end of the year. Of course, our minds and our palates tend to go towards sparkling wines. So the two ones I've got for today are both from the Wingara group, which I think is it's maybe Spanish owned, but they have some wineries here in Australia, and they have, I'm sure probably to do with Spring Racing Carnival around about that time, they've sent me some bottles to taste. So the first one is called Azahara. It is a Chardonnay Pinot Noir blend. I think in reading the notes, it is made in the Charmat method. Charmat is pretty much how they make Prosecco wine, where you have your base wines, the primary fermentation to get still wines, which you can then blend, and then you put it into a pressurized tank, add yeast and sugar to get that secondary fermentation, and then you bottle the wine under pressure at a low temperature to protect the integrity of the bubbles. So generally that is used in larger scale winemaking setups for sparkling wine. Typically smaller, the smaller end of the market would go for method traditionnel, the same way they make champagne. But this one is Charmat. The recommended retail is $15. So let's crack this open. For those of you who didn't already know, I worked for 4 years for Domaine Chandon, so sparkling wine is certainly an area that I know a little bit about. And one of the important things, of course, is how to open a bottle of sparkling wine like this. Now, typically I like to obviously take the foil off. You twist off the wire hood, but don't take it off. I don't like to take it off. I prefer to leave it on because I find it is actually easier to grip the cork. When you do grab that cork, get a good firm grip on it over the entire wire hood and cork. You grip the bottom of the bottle, and then you basically twist the bottle, not the cork, to allow the cork to escape gently. There we go. You don't want a lot of pop. Okay, let's have a taste. So it's a nice pale colour. It's very, very light. Fairly small bubbles. Nice bead, nice and consistent. So how it smells. Yeah, very, very generous, very fruity. It definitely has that kind of appley, lemony kind of character. The Chardonnay is quite strong in this blend. Nice and fresh, just a hint of floral. Let's taste. It's not completely dry. There's a little bit of residual sugar in there. That's keeping it fairly friendly. The fruit is not nice and generous, fairly broad. It doesn't have the kind of bracing acidity that you tend to find in a cooler climate. Grown sparkling wine, particularly ones that are made in method traditionnel that are sitting on lees in the bottle for quite a while. This is a really easy drinking sparkling wine. The bubbles are quite friendly, quite broad. Make sure this one's nice and cold. Very, very important. Look, this is really not bad at all for $15. I would suggest, get a bottle of this, or do what we're going to be doing tonight. Maybe drop in a little bit of Aperol, make yourself a spritz, some ice cubes, maybe even a bit of orange. Let's move on to our second wine. So, the second wine is from Katnook Estate. Katnook is based in the Coonawarra region of South Australia. They are very historically important. Been there for a long time. Of course, Coonawarra best known for its red wines, Cabernet, Shiraz, that kind of thing. I actually had the good fortune of visiting Coonawarra many years ago when I was a wine buyer. Went over for the Barrel Series auction. I don't know if they still do that, but it was a wonderful visit. They were very, very generous hosts, and Coonawarra is very, very unique part of Australia, particularly as far as wine is concerned. But this is their Sparkling Shiraz, the Founders Block Sparkling Shiraz. It is vintage dated 2013. Recommended retail is $23. If you are unfamiliar with the style that is quite particular to Australia, that is sparkling red wine. Usually, in the past, it was often called sparkling Burgundy. It typically is, you take reasonably ripe red grapes, and you'll do like you would a normal red wine with the skin contact maceration to take out the colour and the tannin. But you make it in a similar method you would with any other sparkling wine, and often with the high level of tannin and it being quite dry, typically you might include a slightly higher dose, a little bit more sugar, just to sort of offset that dry tannin character. So I'm interested to sort of see if they're making this in a sort of a lighter, fresher style, if they are making it in that slightly more classic style. So let's have a look at this one. Sort of lovely kind of ruby color. It's not really intense and dark. It does sort of look like sparkling Ribena. I wouldn't be surprised if I did see some Ribena-esque fruit characters in here, which is very, very common with Shiraz. So let's have a smell. It certainly has that dustiness that I tend to see in Coonawarra, particularly in Coonawarra Shiraz. But yeah, it has that kind of black currant, that slight sort of plumminess to it, which is so classic of warmer, mid-warm climate Australian Shiraz. Let's taste. So they are going for the slightly lighter style, a fresher style, or fruit generosity. There is a little bit of residual sugar in here. The tannins are quite softer, they're quite mellow. It's certainly not flabby or broad. It's quite fresh. There's still a good amount of dryness to it, which I'm really, really enjoying. Again, sparkling Shiraz and sparkling red wines in general are one of the classic Christmas Day wines in Australia. As you can imagine, it's the middle of summer for us, so you don't want anything too heavy, but you want something that's going to pair well with Christmas dinner. I remember when I worked at Shandon, we had a sparkling Pinot Shiraz, and the Christopher, who used to work on the tasting bar, who I worked with, would typically tell people that the sparkling red was fantastic with bacon and eggs for breakfast. So however you want to drink it, I definitely suggest going out and get a bottle of this. If you can't find it, ask your local retailer to recommend a sparkling red, because sparkling red wine is so uniquely Australian. It's an important part of our wine history. So there you go, guys. Thank you very much for watching this video. I just tasted the Azahara and the Founders Block Sparkling Shiraz 2013. Both excellent options, particularly if you are on a bit of a budget for the bubbles coming into the end of the year. If you like this video, please leave me a like, and you're welcome to make a comment, ask me a question about these wines, recommend some wines you'd like me to taste. Make sure that you head to intrepidwino.com, and you can find different ways of getting in contact with me. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, that kind of thing. But until next time, cheers.